Effiong, Nyong, who made waves as a sports journalist on radio, has thrown his hat into the ring to contest the governorship seat in Cross River State. He is running under the banner of the African Democratic Congress, ADC. His mission is to rescue the state from what he calls the current sorry condition. This mission is anchored on 3 R's: reconstruction, reconciliation, and restoration. He seeks to reconcile the various ethnic groups and nationalities. Effiong plans to solve the problems of multiple taxation while introducing firm policies that are sustainable and growth-oriented. He wants to restructure the local government system in the state by enhancing fiscal autonomy and reforming the civil service for optimum results. He is our guest on Timeless Conversations. Effiong and Nyong, you're welcome to Timeless Conversations.
Great pleasure to be here.
Yeah.
And good to see you again.
Yes, after a long time.
Yes.
Now, I know that you're a journalist who's had decades of experience on the field and in the profession, and you had risen to such a height where you'd manage radio and TV channels.
Yeah.
Now, why are you going into politics?
Well, you see, it's more like a call to duty from the inside. I would say that I've always, when you belong to the newsroom, you see things happen. I've seen things happen through the years. I've seen governments, I've seen people, I've seen government people, and I will continually stay by the very nature of our profession. You see everything, you hear everything, even the ones that the public don't see. And sometimes you ask yourself, what can you do about it? How can you contribute? How can you join? How can you change the narrative if possible? How can you help inform people better from the inside? And because we're at a point, a critical point in our nation's history, where more like at crossroads, where everything you say, if you are not on the government side, you say, oh, because he's not with us, that's why he's saying it. If you speak from your perspective as a journalist, you are saying, oh, because they have not paid him. Maybe he wants something. And it's gotten to that very ridiculous level.
Yeah.
So, and looking at it all, I now thought that maybe I should stand aside and also join this discussion from the inside. I won't be told that, oh, because you are a journalist. I won't be seen as, oh, because they have not called you to come and partake. I'll be saying it the way it is, as of right, as someone that is also on the field, that is also contending and contesting for office to make a difference. Okay,
so now, good explanation. But you use certain expressions in the course of your explanation. You said government people. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, government people, because there are people who see themselves as, they have this sense of entitlement. This is our country, this is our state. Those people, that people. So we see them and we refer to them as government people. Those kind of people, government can do no wrong. Even when it is very clear and brazen, even when they are adversely affected. But they can't speak because they see themselves as this is our government, because it is our government, or this is our man, or this man comes from my town, because it's my townsman. I cannot say anything against my townsman. So I call those people government people.
Now let's just step a bit aside to further analyze it. You've been a journalist, a broadcast journalist for all these years. You've seen a lot happen, and you've come to the conclusion that you need to throw your heart into the ring. What are you bringing in?
A lot, plenty, especially from where I come from. I come from Bakassi. If there's any people that have been ripped apart, any people that have been raped, that have been injured, that the injustice in Bakassi, you can't delimit it. It's all encompassing. The other day we were talking, I was talking on a program, and I mentioned that until 2 months ago, those of us in Bakassi never knew that the federal government has been paying the government of Cross River State some money called Bakassi Stabilization Fund. That money is collected and it is under the radar. There's no record of it. There's no impact whatsoever. And we were agitating to say, I think we need to get back to the federal government. We need to put a front together and go to the UN and tell them that this, your seeding of Bakassi, is not working. Because all of the agreements that were entered into that was going to be beneficial to the displaced people of Bakassi are not being met. And we're harboring this grievance, or these grievances against the people of the UN, against the federal government and all, only to see the chairman of the Revenue Mobilization Committee come on television to announce that the government of Cross River State has been collecting $500 million every month. I'm coming with the story. That's what the man said, $500 million every month since 2008. When I saw it, it was like, how can? This is not true, this can't be possible. 2 days after, the chief press secretary to the government of Cross River State came up with a release to say it is not $500 million, so it is 500 million naira. Oh. The rest of us were like okay, so you even collect this much. And you go to Bakassi, there's not one borehole to say you can sink a borehole or there's a water treatment for the people to have water to drink. The oil spills that come from, that the waves blow to the east, surface around some section of that peninsula, they rest on the shrubs, on the plants, on the swamps there. So farming and fishing to some degree is a problem. The larger water that the people would have, the fishermen used to go to, have been ceded to Cameroon now, is now delineated as an international water space. When you go there to fish, the gendarmes come after you. So the people here, our people now go to that peninsula to steal the opportunity to fish. Now, we couldn't imagine that such funds were coming to Cross River State. And if this fund is called Bakassi Stabilization Fund, you will expect that even if they only to spread it around the state, at least 10%.
10%, a good percentage of it.
I'm just saying 10. You can take 90. 10% of 100 million
with 500
is 10% of
that's 50.
500. That's 50 million.
Yeah.
I'm saying that if you go to Bakassi today, there's no health center.
Wow.
There is no school. There is no water. There's no light. Not to talk. What does it cost to install solar-powered lights in a community as small as Bakassi?
But wait, that there is no school, there's no water, you mean that it is inadequate? Not that there's none.
There used to be one primary school in Ataima.
Yes.
Ataima is my village. It caught fire about 2 years ago. And it has not been repaired.
So what happened to the pupils or students?
They hang around shelters. They hang around shelters. And it's quite pathetic. You know, between wickedness, because it's not politics anymore. It's inhuman. I was doing some calculation the other day. Now, I recall that in this country, when we were growing up, there were these kind of houses that was built by the Shagari administration.
Yes.
That some of us mocked at and laughed at.
Yes.
Now, that kind of accommodation would be luxury to the people, to what we have there. And to build one bungalow or one small house from 100 million at 4 million naira per unit, how many houses will that produce? So if the government really wants to support the people by providing houses and dedicates 100 million naira every month to building those houses, you can begin to count the number of houses they would have built to replace for the displaced people. Yeah. And the displaced people, their situation is quite unique because they are scattered all over the Niger Delta, but majority of them are in Cross River. Okay. You find them in Akwa Ibom, you find them in Bayelsa, you find them elsewhere. Because after the seeding took place, they had no home. They now had to start to drift and travel. Today, what's happening is that they are scattering, they are finding their ways to survive.
Okay.
Because the bulk of the people, the land that is there cannot hold
the numbers
that we have there.
But that's Bakassi.
Yes.
Now, if you find yourself in government, what are you going to do?
Permit me to speak Yoruba here. I will do 10.
Maybe you should say it in Effiong.
We don't have that expression in Effiong language.
Okay.
Yes, I would have said it in Effiong.
Okay.
Or let me speak Effiong here. Nyanam se moumi kereke kokoro kamaninam. That is, I will do what people don't think that money can do.
All right.
Because our local people are not expensive people. Yeah. The average Nigerian wants shelter, wants food, needs a place to go and work, needs some security around his home.
Sure.
That's all the Nigerian wants. And the Nigerian in Bakassi and Cross River is not different from the Nigerian in Lagos. No. Blood runs through everybody's veins.
Certainly.
Yes.
Certainly.
So the things to do: 1, we will build schools. 2, we will create a tourism industry in Bakassi, because what nature has provided in terms of the landscape, the vegetation, in fact, Bakassi is close to Cameroon, records the highest percentage of rainfall in the tropical forest.
Oh, really?
Yes. I was taught that in geography. I was in the primary, secondary, my early years in the secondary school. Yes.
Yeah.
I had not even known Bakassi when I got to know that.
You hadn't known it?
No, I hadn't. I mean, I didn't.
Oh, you were not born there?
No, I wasn't born there.
Where were you born?
I was born in Calabar.
Yeah.
Calabar is the city, the town, and visited Bakassi once or twice while growing up.
So that's it's like your ancestral place?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It is.
No, but if you become governor, you're not going to be governor of Bakassi now?
No. I'm using Bakassi as an example, following the drift of our conversation.
Okay.
I mean, you asked about Bakassi.
Yes, I did, yes.
I had to supply the answers.
Yeah.
You know, to Cross River State is one unique state. It's the only state in Nigeria where you could travel for 7 hours and you have not reached the last town. Because it is a lengthy state. When you move from Calabar, you are going to Obudu.
Yeah.
It will take you 7 hours, sometimes 8. Of course, when you consider the state of our roads,
state of the roads,
it might take you longer than that time. And it is one place that is so endowed with all manner of quality wood. It is one place that is endowed with that nature has made it that as we speak, the forests, Biase, Akampa, that's where you have there's a species, the white monkey, there's this white faced monkey.
Yes.
The drills that exist there. It is that species of monkey is found only there in the world. That forest is one of the virgin forests in the world that man has not entered.
Okay.
So the World Wildlife Conservation Federation pays Cross River State to ensure that please don't let people enter. Because this is one of the few virgin things that still exist in the world. And it is not in Bakassi, it is not in Calabar. It is when you're going out of the southern senatorial zone towards the central. That's where you find that forest. Obudu Mountains is in the far north of Cross River State.
Yeah, that even appears to be the most iconic.
Yes, the weather in Obudu at the top of the mountain is temperate.
Yeah.
In Cross River, you find almost all of the weathers of this world. By the time you are leaving Obudu towards Vandekia, when you're going into Benue State, you begin to see the savannah. So in Cross River State, you have the typical tropical forest.
Yeah.
And you also have the temperate forest the temperate climate that you find abroad, and you see the savannah.
Yeah.
What we don't have in Cross River State is the desert.
Okay.
But all of these unique features of nature are expressed there. So for people who are exposed, who know what to do with tourism, who know what to do with education, who know what to do with humanity, we will exploit it to the limit. I talked about tourism. I mean, even before now, during the era of Donald Duke, we had a situation in Cross River State where the tourism, the carnival, the dance, the music, and all, the bar was raised to a point where by October, hotels in Calabar and in Cross River State, as far as outside the capital, all get booked. Yeah. Well, got to a point where people begin to make their residences available for people to come on vacation. People started booking for vacation to come to Calabar. But where we are at, the point where we are today is such that, as at that time, hotels were still trying to renovate, getting ready that people will come.
Hoping.
In December. It never used to be so. So the things I will do will be take us where we made the mistake, repair it from there, and improve upon what we should do. Let me say something, still talking tourism. There are no beaches in Cross River State. And why can't we create beaches? Simply because those that are managing the tourism industry on the government side have not thought it possible, or their thoughts have not drifted to that area. What I will do differently will be, one, we'll use one stone and kill several birds.
Okay.
Now,
in what way?
Good. The maritime industry in Cross River State has been existing even before Nigeria's independence.
Okay.
And ships used to come in and out of the Calabar Channel. Today, ships don't enter there because they say it is shallow.
Okay.
And when they dredge this seabird, what they do is they pump that same sand back into the ocean. It's like taking it from here and pushing it some kilometers away. Then, when winds blow, it drifts back and the channel remains blocked. So it remains a business for some people whose business is dredging. What we will do differently is we will pump that sand, dredge that sand, fill the swamps, and create beaches.
But wouldn't that create some ecological problems?
No, it won't. It will help the ecology of the place.
Okay.
It will help it in the sense that, one, it will clear the channel so that maritime activity can survive. Because at the end of the day, we have two ports. There's the free trade zone, there's the NPA, and these ports are not working because ships don't come. So by the time we use dredging, we take this sand and use it where we most need them. The mangrove banks of the Cross River, we fill them and create a beach. I mean, in Lagos, we are all alive to the reality of people now live
Yes.
inside where we used to go and watch Bar Beach and see the water, the ocean surge.
Okay, Effiong, we're going to take a break now. We'll be back. My guest is Effiong Nyong. He is the governorship candidate for the ADC in Cross River State. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Timeless Conversations. My guest is still Effiong Nyong, ADC governorship candidate in Cross River State. We're talking about what you would do if you got into office, and this led us to a review of some of the happenings there. Let's look at something like education. Education. What's the state of education there in a state that has a population of approximately 4 million?
Well, I would say that the government today has displayed so much ineptitude in management, in terms of managing infrastructure, managing the people, and even managing the pupils, even its staff. And the testimony goes further to say that our governor is a professor, used to be a university teacher. Our deputy governor is a professor, a former vice chancellor of a university. You cannot reconcile them. As even as I speak here, I cannot reconcile why these academicians hate education, hate library service. I can't reconcile it. They couldn't even not even managing what they met.
Yeah, but that's you're just talking of brick and mortar.
It's just like a testimony to say, okay, look at this. If we cannot maintain this in the list at a time where e-libraries are being developed around the world, at a time when people are taking custody are looking for old materials, getting cartographers to put all of this together for the benefit and betterment of society. But we find persons who are in the saddle deliberately, in quote, destroying things that would edify young minds and edify society. When you go to schools in Cross River State, except for those schools whose Old Boys Association, in association with the missionaries, are reclaiming.
Okay, and they're giving back to...
And giving back. All students society. Are going back to do one or two things for their school.
I understand now.
You know, those schools are looking up. But for other schools... Government-owned schools. I talked about the school in Bakassi that got burnt about 2 years ago. It's still not been fixed. There are other rural schools. There are buildings without windows. There are no water in the school.
Yeah.
So many things are lacking. And one would have thought that when you have people who are as exposed in quote in this context, because right now one will begin to query the level of exposure now, based on what we see as testimonial for what work they are doing. Teacher training education is also not being encouraged, because if the educational system is going to work and we're looking at training children, then you will see what is it that we're doing about training teachers who are going to be training the children. How have we improved upon that? It's still not there. If you go to the Ministry of Education, the larger part of that building is empty. Why? People have retired from service since 2014 and have not been replaced. So you find empty floors. You can, I mean, like when I speak, I say you may want to go and verify. Go to our secretariat, the old secretariat in Calabar, and see for yourself that these floors are all empty. In the place of civil servants, our government in Cross River State has preferred instead to appoint SAs. We have more than over 5,000 SAs.
5,000?
Yes, SAs, special assistants. There's special assistant for everything. No? In fact, I'm sure if this if this studio was Cross River, there'll be an SA to carry chair,
but truly speaking,
SA to hold phone.
But truly speaking, right? These are things that the government is doing. What are you going to do? Should you get
definitely there'll be a complete change, a complete change from all that is going on now. My manifesto has 3 R's. Reconciliation, restructuring, and restoration.
Okay.
We will reconcile the education sector. You know, most times, each time I get to speak, I try as much as possible not to call anybody out.
Yeah.
Because I'm not at war with anyone.
No, it's no war.
You know,
it's
just to say, okay, let us do this. You know, we'll reconcile our education sector. You know, yes, the governor may mean well, but what we see does not show it. So we'll reconcile it. The ones that we need to restructure, we'll restructure completely. And there are things we need to restructure. For instance, the civil service has to be restructured so that people can live life. We used to be called a civil service state, but even that civil service that we used to be called by is almost extinct. And why don't we employ people to work when the jobs are there? I believe simply so that there'll be a lot more, we will not have to pay salaries, there'll be a lot more money to spend, there'll be money to give to SAs, and the failure of it is the fact that it brings about impunity in government and governance.
But you know, it is always said that when you're not part of something yet, it's easier to postulate and say, oh, if I were there, this is what I would do. Okay, so now, if you found yourself in government, how are you going to tackle the issue of revenue? Because you need funding to do all of this.
Tourism will give us all the money.
Tourism?
Oh, yes. There are so many things government will do with tourism that it does not have to pay, but the money doesn't have to come from government.
Tourism, for instance, if it's tourism you're talking of, in the past few years now, like 2-3 years, there's not been the regular Calabar.
No, it's going on this year.
It's going on this year?
Yes.
Okay. The carnival.
If I am governor or I lead government in Cross River State, it will not just be the Calabar carnival in December.
Okay.
We'll have a 12-month tourism calendar.
12 months?
Yes. In Cross River State.
How do you hope to sustain that?
Fantastic. We've read about, the world is so small by today's technology. In 2015, the Bahamas received, no, 2019, the Bahamas received 7.2 million visitors. What do they have? They have hotels, they have scenarios, they have dances, they have events, they have peace, they have good security. People go to the Bahamas to holiday. In Cross River State, for instance, in 2019, I organized Colors of Cross River State Art Exhibition. During the course of research for that exhibition, I came across a work that is 1,500 years old.
What?
If you add 4 years from that time to now, it is now 1,504 years old.
Yes.
And 1,500 years old is older than the Nok culture.
Yeah, it is.
So, meaning that it is some work that people will come from all over the world to see.
And that's boosting tourism.
Now, if I mentioned the Bahamas, imagine 7 million people, 7.2 million people visiting Cross River State that are foreigners, and they come each with $1,000. Do the mathematics.
That's a lot.
It means that the tourism industry can fund and turn Cross River State around. There's art exhibition. There should be traditional dance, traditional art, traditional display of masquerades and dance. The whole of Nigeria know Cross River State. In fact, when they talk about masquerading, they call it Ojuju Calabar.
That's true.
Ojuju Calabar.
That's very true.
Ojuju Calabar, in the Southern Senatorial District, we have more than 120 masquerades. Different types of masquerades, different design, different dance, different attire, everything different. This could be broken down into two as festivals.
Yes.
Now, food.
That's another thing.
There's no place in this world that has as much food as Cross River State.
That sounds like an exaggeration.
I say this because I've had the privilege of travel.
Yeah.
And I know where I come from. If you take egusi.
Yes.
In Cross River State, we produce egusi not less than 6 different varieties. Yes. If you take the ogbono and okra, we produce them in at least 6 different varieties.
Yeah.
If you take this rice meal, rice is prepared in at least 5 different varieties. If you take plantain, that we do as boli.
Yes.
If you take plantain, we do the roasted plantain that is boli. We do the one, they mix it with, they call it ukang ukom. There's the one that they do it, they chop it into small bits.
Yeah.
There's also, they now make the flour from plantain. They now pound it. 5 different ways.
Okay.
And all of these different ways of preparation are unique and each different from each other. So if, for instance, cocoyam, cocoyam is also produced the way the Ijebus prepare ebiripo. We have our own version.
And that's your ekpan cocoa.
Ekpan cocoa is one variety. Really? The one that comes like ebiripo, that is done like ebiripo, is different. The one that they cook as ikokore, is also different. And other varieties, cocoyam is produced in at least 5 other different varieties.
Okay, we'll take a break. I like food, and I think you like food too. So we'll come back and continue talking about food, agriculture, and all that. Please stay tuned. Welcome back to Timeless Conversations. I'm still talking with Effiong Nyong, the governorship candidate for ADC. And we were talking before the break, we were talking about the foods in Cross River State. You were describing the foods and all that.
Yes.
But what about the production of the food, like planting, like agriculture?
Fantastic.
Yes.
Yes. That also shows that there's an industry that is fallow to service these tables, to service the kitchens that will produce these foods. And I was still talking tourism when we talked about food. I've not mentioned Edikanekong. I've not mentioned Afang.
Those ones have been taken over from you people now. Those ones have become national foods.
Yes, I'm trying to say that there are various ways of producing that Edikanekong. It's not just one variety.
No, not just one form.
Not just one form. Oh, yes. So by the time you do a breakdown, maybe this will encourage me to write a book on cookery.
Please, right.
And state all of these varieties.
Right.
You get? So by the time you have food festivals, and if you're going to showcase all of these foods, you probably will need some festivals to be able to bring all of this for the world to see.
And that will still tie it into tourism.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And we were talking about the tourism calendar. I said we'll have a 12-month calendar. Now, all of this I've described does not include the New Yam festivals. Now, the New Yam festival is not celebrated in the southern part. When you go to the middle, the central and northern part of Cross River, you have various New Yam festivals.
Really, name those places in the.
There is in Ugep area.
Ugep, okay,
Ugep, Obubra, Banliku, Goja, in Ikom, in Boki, in Yala.
Yeah.
In all of this, in Biase, in all of these places, they have their own, each community or each people have their own way of celebrating the New Yam Festival. The most prominent about it is the Leboku Festival.
Okay, what's that?
It's a New Yam Festival. It happens around Ugep, and that has got to a worldwide acclaim at some point.
All right.
Got massive sponsorship. Europeans and other nationals from outside Nigeria have been coming to celebrate the Leboku Festival.
Okay.
And for some years now, the Leboku Festival is run as if like any other small backyard thing to do. Then we also have contemporary musicians who are not being celebrated. That will form another reason for people to visit Cross River. We also have traditional musicians. The most prominent being the late Nyong Tahenshaw.
Okay, Tahenshaw, yes.
But Nyong Tahenshaw was not alone. There are other younger musicians today. One of them, Effiong trombone. Okay. Effiong trombone is an essay to the governor on entertainment. He's a musician. We also will have that. So by the time we break all of this down,
yes,
you will have more than 12 months on your hands. Then don't forget also that the old residency, where the then Governor General of the Southern Protectorate of Nigeria used as office, is still there.
Okay.
His table, their office is still there.
Preserved.
Yes. Then the prison cell, that kept Werawe of Benin after that invasion, that cell is still there at the old residency, a little bit underground. Then you also have the Slave Museum, which credits to former Governor Donald Duke, refurbished, and the chains, the shackles they used, some of the things pertaining to the slave era,
period, yes,
are still there. That museum already exists.
All of these are focused on
tourism,
lifting
yes,
the economy through tourism.
Yes,
well,
because you must create a reason. Yes. Then security will be taken care of.
I asked a question about agriculture.
Yes.
The state should naturally be an agrarian society.
Yes.
What would you do to improve agriculture?
First, I will revisit oil palm. A lot of work is being done now by some Chinese company that bought some large expanse of land, and they are planting the modern species of oil palm. And it's doing well. But the larger part of Cross River State, that gave Nigeria that #1 position as a world's leading oil palm producers, are still having that very tall trees.
Very, very tall trees.
Tall, yes, old trees.
Yes.
Some of those trees, I'm sure they're older than my mom, my late mom. We have them in my mom's village, in in Akpabuyo. Akpabuyo is largely a plantation.
Okay.
In those days, Akpabuyo used to be referred to as Inwang Akpabuyo. Inwang meaning farm. That's where most of the plantations were. And those plantations are still there. What happens today is that some rich person goes to a village, pays them rent, maybe 50,000 naira a year, or 100,000 naira a year for I rent this
expanse
of land, and that money means that for every palm that is harvested belong to me for that season.
Wow.
So people pay such rent, and some pay for 5 years, some pay for more, some pay for less. We will begin to replant while paying the owners of the land not less than whatever monies they were. And in fact, we'll give them more money than whatever these businessmen are giving to them, and begin to, in phases, begin to replant these crops.
So
we will not take it away from the owners.
Okay.
Because one of the things that I have noticed over time is when government wants to do anything, they will take it over.
Yeah.
And now hand it over to new owners. Then the real owners will now lose it. We will ensure that the real owners of the land still retain their property. We support them. What government will do is to provide and build mills at strategic locations, so that the harvest can be better refined and maximized. Because even the jute that comes from the oil palm is some raw material.
Yeah, it is.
The palm kernel oil is a prized oil,
yes.
and all of this businessmen just take and they just leave without dealing with them. We will try to bring back the old produce boards.
Okay.
Because the old palm produce board that existed was such that they were empowered to buy off the proceeds from the farmers. Pay them their due, take it over, process. The ones that are for export, they export. The ones that are to use locally, go into the local market. And everybody was happy. But you see, government came in, especially after when the military came in, they took everything over. They scrapped the palm produce board. There used to be the cocoa board.
Yes.
So that the quality testing was done by the board. And there's so much cocoa in Cross River State, around Ikom, in northern Cross River. There's so much rubber in Cross River. Palm oil used to supply Dunlop, Michelin. They used to produce from here.
Yes.
But of course, as some of the things that have happened to Nigeria as a country in the last 10 years, Dunlop has left. Michelin has left.
A lot of them have left.
And they had to leave because of the harsh environment.
Yes.
But if we have the opportunity to get into government, we will make, I and my team will make Cross River State a model. Because the people that made it happen are still there. The people that worked with Donald during the tourism, the boost of tourism, are still there. They are Cross Riverians. A lot of them are very young people.
Yeah.
And all of these people are around.
Yeah.
So we will not be reinventing the wheel other than getting people, the correct persons, to fill correct offices, understand their temperament and predicaments, to manage them as well, and things will work. It's not going to be magic at all. So in everything that we do, we always will ensure that while in government that these things are doable and workable. Monies will come.
Yeah, well, talking about money, it brings to mind the fact that many citizens expect a fair chance of good health. And most governments will say things like, oh, it's expensive running free health. So they're going into the area of health insurance so that they can guarantee for people the access to health. What would you do about health?
You see, mentioning health now almost want to get my spirit vexed. Because my immediate younger brother died in September this year.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
We buried him on the 15th of October, and over a health issue or a mismanagement or a fault in the healthcare system.
Oh.
He had crisis at about 9 p.m. By about 9:30 p.m., we took him to the first hospital, a teaching hospital in Cross River State. There was no doctor. There was no light.
Was there a strike?
No, no strike. The people were not just on duty. Then from there, they said, "Oh, you guys go try General Hospital." And they rushed to General Hospital. No light, no doctor. Found a few auxiliary nurses hanging around. From there, we went to the Navy Hospital, which is supposed to be a reference hospital. No light, no doctor. We found a few nurses there who said they need to call the doctor to come. That this one said, okay, let's use our phone to call. They say, no, you can't use your phone. That if you use your phone.
What a pity.
You can't use your phone. Okay, let's transfer credit to your phone so you can call. Okay, in short, this thing no go work. By this time, it was approaching 11:30 to 12.
At night?
Yes. We now moved my brother to Asiukpo. Asiukpo is a private hospital. By the time we got to Asiukpo, and it was raining. By the time we got to Asiukpo, wheeled him to the emergency unit, he died.
Oh, please accept my condolences.
Yes, and that is a picture of what our healthcare system represents. Not because it's me, because I consider myself privileged.
Yeah.
Because all of these movements we were making in the night, we had a car. We had a car and a backup car.
Yeah.
But the two vehicles were running around in the night. You just picture what could have happened to some individual or individuals who didn't have a car and it was drizzling. How were they going to hire a taxi or hire an ambulance and be running around in the night? That in a nutshell describes
the
state of healthcare in Cross River State.
Okay.
From how it happened to me. And that further reinforced the reason why I believe very strongly that we need to change things. Enough of praise singing, enough of telling the beautiful story.
Commissioning and all that.
Yes.
But, you know, that's the thing. What about the populace, the electorate? What about them? What are their expectations? Are they comfortable with the state of stuff in the country? Don't answer yet. We'll take this short break and then we'll come back and then we will wrap up. Thank you. Welcome back. We're still with my friend Effiong Nyong on Timeless Conversation. He is the ADC governorship candidate in Cross River State. Before we took a break, I was asking you this question. Tell me, what is the role of the electorate in all of this? How fired up is the citizenry in Cross River about having a change, desiring a change, and all that?
I wish I can speak for them. I've always maintained that it's about choices. What has happened to Nigeria is about what choices we've made in the past. And what will happen going forward will depend on the choices we make now in Nigeria as a country during the 2023 elections and also in Cross River State. The important thing for me is to sell my manifesto, tell them what we can, educate them on the things that are wrong, and also tell them that these things that are wrong can be repaired. And I expect that they will listen, they will buy into it, and so we can have a better Cross River State and a better Nigeria. Because if one state is able to stand out, others will be able to look back and say, yes, we can do it, so we can also do it. I recall still talking tourism when the Calabar Carnival was at its peak. We had other cities, other states coming up with their own carnivals, wanting to emulate.
Copying a good thing.
Yes. But since the Calabar Carnival started going down, I don't hear of other carnivals. So we'll do things to make sure to be certain that it is doable, and it is the electorate that we need to see. I need to say that as part of the things we will do to create employment in Cross River State is to say that we'll create more additional we'll create council development areas to support the 18 local governments that already exist in Cross River State so that development can be spread across the state. We'll ensure that we will support independent business people by ensuring that they get facilities, still talking tourism here now, and ensure that hotels, resort owners and builders get minimum interest rates so that they can get facilities to expand on their facilities and structures to encourage employment and boost the tourism industry. We also will support, like for instance, the export processing zone, the premier free trade zone in Calabar, where they have 3 power turbines. All the 3 are broken down. Although I must also say here that I am aware that it's been repaired. But before this time, the government of Cross River State could have joined hands with the Nigerian Free Trade Zone to make sure that power stabilizes in that zone. 37 industries working at less than 20% capacity. If those industries work, they have the capacity to employ a minimum of 2,000 each. And 2,000 jobs times 37 gives us 74,000 jobs that could have been available for young people. We'll do security very differently, collaborating with all of the military, paramilitary security agencies in Cross River State. There was a time during the heat of I think it was during Yar'Adua's time, President Yar'Adua, the heat of the militant crisis in the Niger Delta. Calabar was about the safest place in that area. Because all workers were living in Calabar and going to work in Akwa Ibom, were living in Calabar, going to work in River State. But today, it's not happening. What happened is simple, that the government of Cross River State today simply neglected it. And not paying attention to security definitely will drive every other thing aground, like the tourism that we're known for. People, I mean, you cannot decide to go touring a place where kidnap can happen any moment. I mean, anything can happen, where there's so much darkness. Why would we not support the production of solar energy to light our villages, to light up the rural areas, to ensure that people get the places lit up? If the place is lit up, the night economy exists. And of course, the business of tourism and hoteling and resort enjoyment, a lot of it happens at night. And if there are no lights, everywhere is dark. The moment it's 7, 8 p.m., everybody goes home. The industry cannot thrive. The economy cannot thrive. And if the economy is not thriving, you cannot make money, you cannot get tax, you cannot get people to pay tax. And when people are not able to pay tax, the government will not have money. So all of these things are interrelated. And it's simply that we have always taken ourselves for granted. So I ask the electorate of Cross River State, look at this situation. Let us change it. We can change it for the betterment of everyone. Going into government, if you look at me, you definitely know that hunger is far. So it's not something that I want to grapple because there's one point I want to prove. I'm not hunting anybody, I'm not fighting anybody. The businesses of Cross, another thing that has affected Cross River State adversely is that every government that has entered Cross River State they decided to do things on their own. No continuity. So I talked about reconciliation. We will reconcile all of this, please, and make sure that there's a link. The ones that are good, we will take and improve upon. The ones that are not good, we probably will discard. We also will not be haunting anybody. I always said this because people feel that they say, oh, this man is doing this so that they will protect him. This one, who is protecting who? We will ensure that people, if you got money to do contracts and you didn't execute the contract, you return the money.
Yes. If
you got money to, if you are not competent to do a particular business, we'll relieve you of that opportunity because there are a lot of people that want to get things done.
Okay, so let me wish you the very best.
Thank you.
That's come March.
Yes, I will invite Plus TV to come to Cross River
certainly,
State
we will.
and see for themselves.
Yes.
And when we start work and see how it's happening.
Come
and
we'll
still talking about the time is up.
Time is up.
I just wanted to throw something into the media to say we have a CRBC and TRBC TV, and all of the news is about government said, government said. We'll break it down and ensure that Nigerian Chronicle, or some of the foremost newspapers, is returned to a full commercial printing, full commercially minded printing press. And the broadcast situation will be that we have more channels, not just one news channel. There'll be a movie channel. You can imagine us doing Carnival. We'll go and pay some agencies 200 or 350 million to broadcast our Carnival, when that money is enough to set up a TV channel and run. Cost of DTH is not a DTH license, no more than 10 million naira. So you can count how many stations we can set up and get functional. I thank you for this opportunity.
You're all fired up. Let me wish you the very best.
Thank you so much
for coming. All right.
I'm grateful to you. I'm grateful to Plus TV, and let's hope for the better.
We hope for it.
Thank you.
Hope for it. It's been Timeless Conversations today. My guest has been Effiong Nyong, the governorship candidate for the ADC in Cross River State. Until next time, take care.